The small town of Willow Creek lay nestled between rolling hills and dense forests, far away from the noise and chaos of big cities. It was a place where life moved slowly, where people knew each other by name, and where the most exciting event of the week was often Friday night bingo at the community center. But on one particular evening, everything changed forever. That night, the quiet skies above Willow Creek became the stage for an event so extraordinary that it would be talked about for generations to come. It all started just after sunset. The air was cool, carrying with it the faint scent of pine trees and freshly cut grass. Families were settling into their homes, children finishing up homework while parents prepared dinner. Outside, crickets chirped in rhythmic harmony, and stars began to twinkle faintly against the darkening sky. For a moment, everything seemed perfectly ordinary. But then came the sound, a low, almost imperceptible hum, like the distant buzzing of electricity or the soft rumble of thunder miles away. At first, no one paid much attention. After all, strange noises weren't uncommon in Willow Creek. There were always stories about UFO sightings near Silver Lake, whispers of glowing lights hovering over the water late at night. Most dismissed these tales as nothing more than wild imaginations or tricks of the eye. But this time, something felt different. The hum grew louder, deeper, until it filled the entire valley. Windows vibrated gently in their frames and dogs began to bark nervously. Curious people stepped out onto their porches and driveways looking up at the sky. What they saw next left them speechless. High above, the stars seemed to shimmer unnaturally, flickering as though someone had disturbed the fabric of space itself. Then, without warning, the sky split open. It wasn't like clouds parting or lightning striking. It was as if the very heavens had cracked. A jagged line of blinding blue, light tore through the darkness, stretching across the horizon like a wound in the universe. From this rift emerged shapes, massive metallic structures that glinted menacingly under the glow of the mysterious light. At first glance, they looked like ships, but not any kind of ship anyone had ever seen before. These were enormous, towering, monoliths bristling with weapons and adorned with strange symbols that pulsed faintly with energy. Their surfaces shimmered as though alive, reflecting the stars around them in distorted patterns. They moved silently, effortlessly, as if gravity itself had no hold over them. And there weren't just one or two of them. There were dozens, maybe even hundreds, filling the sky like a swarm of mechanical insects. Panic spread quickly through Willow Creek. People screamed, pointing at the sky as the alien fleet loomed overhead. Cars screeched to a halt on the roads and phones lit up with frantic calls to loved ones. Some ran inside, locking doors and pulling curtains shut, hoping to hide from whatever horrors might descend upon them. Others stood frozen in place, unable to tear their eyes away from the spectacle unfolding above. Among those watching was Jack Harper, a local farmer who lived on the outskirts of town. Jack was a simple man, content with his modest life tending to crops and livestock. He had heard the rumors about UFOs and strange occurrences around Silver Lake, but he never put much stock in them. To him, such stories were just harmless entertainment, something to laugh about over coffee with neighbors. But now, standing in his yard with his heart pounding in his chest, Jack realized those stories might have been closer to the truth than anyone had imagined. As he stared at the alien ships, a strange thought crossed his mind. Why were they just hovering there? If these beings had traveled unimaginable distances to reach Earth, surely they wouldn't stop now. Yet, instead of attacking or landing, the ships remained suspended in the air, unmoving. It was almost as if they were waiting for what, Jack couldn't say. Then something even more incredible happened. Slowly, almost hesitantly, thousands of other ships began to appear in the sky. These weren't alien vessels. They were human-made, or at least, they looked like they belonged to humanity. Sleek and angular, they radiated power and precision, their hulls gleaming silver under the moonlight. One by one, they decloaked, revealing themselves to the world for the first time. Within moments, the entire sky was filled with them, forming a protective barrier around Earth. The aliens reacted, immediately. Their ships shuddered, lights flashing erratically as if they were communicating in panic. Whatever confidence they had arrived with vanished in an instant. Instead of pressing forward, they began retreating, pulling back toward the rift in the sky. Within minutes, the last of the alien fleet disappeared into the glowing crack, which sealed itself shut with a deafening boom. For a long while, silence reigned. The people of Willow Creek stood in stunned disbelief, unsure of what they had just witnessed. Had Earth really been saved? And if so, how? Who had built those ships, and why had no one known about them until now? Jack didn't have answers to those questions, but deep down he suspected he might know someone who did. Years earlier, he had met a woman named Evelyn Carter, a mysterious stranger whose arrival in Willow Creek had sparked a chain of events that ultimately led to this moment. Back then, she had promised him opportunities beyond his wildest dreams. Little did he know, those dreams would take him farther than he could have ever imagined. Long before the night the sky split open, long before humanity unveiled its hidden fleet of star destroyers, Jack Harper's life was as ordinary as they came. He lived alone on a small farm at the edge of Willow Creek, tending to his crops and animals from sunrise to sunset. His days were predictable, filled with hard work and little reward. Money was always tight, and luxuries were few and far between. But Jack didn't mind. He had grown up in Willow Creek, and despite its quietness, he loved the simplicity of his life. It wasn't glamorous, but it was his. One summer afternoon, as Jack worked in his fields, he noticed something unusual near Silver Lake, a trail of black smoke rising into the air. At first, he thought it might be a campfire gone wrong or perhaps a car accident. Curiosity got the better of him, so he grabbed his toolbox and hopped onto his old pickup truck. The drive to the lake took only 10 minutes, but when he arrived, what he found surprised him. Stuck in a muddy ditch beside the lake was a sleek, futuristic tractor, unlike anything Jack had ever seen. Its design was sharp and polished, with smooth curves and gleaming metal that made it look more like a piece of art than a farming machine. Smoke billowed from under its hood, and nearby stood a woman who looked equally out of place in Willow Creek. She wore an expensive-looking outfit, tailored pants, a crisp blouse, and high-heeled boots that were clearly not meant for trudging through mud. Her hair was perfectly styled, and she carried herself with an air of authority that seemed out of sync with her current predicament. Jack stepped out of his truck and approached cautiously. "You okay?" he called out, shielding his eyes from the sun. The woman turned to face him, her expression a mix of frustration and relief. "Finally," she muttered under her breath. Then, louder, she said, "Yes, I'm fine, but my vehicle is stuck, and I can't seem to get it running again." Jack raised an eyebrow. "That's quite the tractor you've got there." She gave him a wry smile. "It's custom built, or rather it was working perfectly until it decided to break down here." He chuckled softly. "Well, let me take a look. Machines are kind of my thing." As Jack opened the hood, he couldn't help but marvel at the intricate machinery inside. It was far more advanced than any tractor he'd ever worked on, with components he didn't recognize and wires arranged in patterns that seemed almost alien. Still, mechanics were mechanics, and after years of fixing broken equipment on his farm, Jack had developed a knack for troubleshooting. He poked around, tightened loose bolts, and cleaned out some clogged parts. Within half an hour, the engine roared back to life, much to the woman's delight. "You're incredible," she said, her tone genuinely impressed. "I've never seen anyone fix something like this so quickly." Jack shrugged modestly. "It's just a matter of knowing how things work. Anyone could do it if they tried." "I doubt that," she replied with a laugh. Extending her hand, she added, "By the way, I'm Evelyn Carter." "Jack Harper," he said, shaking her hand. "Nice to meet you, Ms. Carter." "Please call me Evelyn," she insisted. "And thank you for your help, I owe you one." Jack waved off her gratitude. "Don't mention it. Just glad I could lend a hand." They chatted briefly as Evelyn climbed back into the driver's seat of her tractor. She explained that she was scouting land in the area for potential development projects, though something about her explanation felt vague, almost rehearsed. Jack didn't press her for details. He figured it wasn't his business. As she prepared, To leave, Evelyn handed him a business card. "If you're ever in Chicago or if you need anything at all, don't hesitate to reach out," she said with a warm smile. "I mean it. You've got talent, Jack. Talent like yours shouldn't go unnoticed." Jack accepted the card politely but didn't think much of it. To him, Evelyn was just another passerby whose path had crossed his for a brief moment. Once, she drove off. He returned to his truck and headed back home, forgetting about the encounter almost immediately. But fate has a way of weaving threads together, even when we least expect it. Over the next few months, life continued as usual for Jack. He worked tirelessly on his farm, battling droughts and pests while trying to keep his finances afloat. Money grew tighter with each passing week, and the weight of his mounting debts began to feel suffocating. Nights were restless, filled with worries about how he would make ends meet. For the first time in years, Jack found himself questioning whether staying in Willow Creek was truly worth it. One particularly rough evening, as he sat at his kitchen table staring at a stack of unpaid bills, his gaze fell upon Evelyn's business card. It lay forgotten in a drawer, slightly faded but still legible. On impulse, he picked it up and studied it closely. The address listed belonged to a company called Novatech Industries, located in downtown Chicago. Jack had no idea what kind of work they did, but desperation pushed him to consider reaching out. What did he have to lose? The next morning, he dialed the number printed on the card. To his surprise, Evelyn answered personally. Her voice was warm and professional, and she greeted him as though their last meeting had been only yesterday. "Jack, I was wondering when you'd call," she said cheerfully. "How can I help you?" He hesitated, suddenly feeling foolish for calling. Hi, Evelyn. I hope I'm not bothering you. Well, things haven't been great lately, and I remembered you mentioned opportunities. I figured it wouldn't hurt to ask." There was a pause on the other end of the line, followed by a soft chuckle. "Jack, I'm glad you reached out. Actually, I've been meaning to contact you myself. Can you come to Chicago, say, tomorrow?" His heart skipped a beat. "Tomorrow? That's awfully short notice." "It's important," Evelyn replied cryptically. "Trust me, Jack. You'll want to hear what I have to say." Against his better judgment, Jack agreed. The following day, he packed a bag and drove to Chicago, unsure of what awaited him but willing to take a chance. When he arrived at Novatech Industries, he was greeted by a sleek skyscraper that towered above the city streets. Inside, the lobby was bustling with activity, its walls lined with screens displaying complex diagrams and data streams. It was worlds apart from the quiet simplicity of Willow Creek. Evelyn met him at the entrance, her demeanor calm yet commanding. "Welcome to Novatech," she said, leading him toward a private elevator. "I think you're going to find this very interesting." As the doors closed behind them, Jack felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Whatever Evelyn had planned, it was clear that his life was about to change in ways he couldn't yet imagine. When the elevator doors opened, Jack stepped into a world that felt like it belonged in a science fiction movie. The floor was sleek and modern, with walls made entirely of glass that offered panoramic views of the Chicago skyline. But what caught his attention most were the people bustling around: scientists in lab coats, engineers hunched over glowing screens, and technicians carrying strange devices that hummed softly with energy. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. Evelyn led him down a long corridor lined with doors marked with cryptic symbols and numbers. She walked briskly, her heels clicking against the polished floor, while Jack struggled to keep up. His mind raced with questions, but before he could ask any, they entered a large conference room. At its center stood a massive holographic display showing intricate blueprints and schematics of machines that looked otherworldly. "Have a seat," Evelyn said, gesturing toward a chair at the head of the table. "There's a lot to explain, and I want you to understand why I brought you here." Jack sat down, feeling both nervous and curious. "So, what exactly is this place?" he asked cautiously. Evelyn smiled faintly. "Novatech isn't just another tech company, Jack. We're part of something much bigger, a global initiative called Project Sentinel. Our mission is to protect Earth from extraterrestrial threats. Jack blinked in disbelief. Extraterrestrial? Threats? You mean aliens? She nodded gravely. Yes. Humanity has known about alien civilizations for decades, though it's been kept secret from the public. Over the years, we've intercepted communications, recovered crashed spacecraft, and even encountered beings who aren't friendly. Some factions see Earth as nothing more than a resource to exploit. That's where we come in. We prepare for the day when they decide to invade. Jack leaned back in his chair, trying to process what she was saying. And you're telling me all this because we need people like you, Evelyn replied firmly. People who can think outside the box, who have practical skills and problem-solving abilities. When I saw how easily you fixed my tractor, I knew you had potential. Machines are your language, Jack, whether you realize it or not. And right, now we need someone who can help us decode and adapt alien technology faster than our enemies can strike. Jack shook his head slowly. This is insane. Why would you trust me with something like this? I'm just a farmer. You're more than that, Evelyn countered. You may not see it yet, but you have a gift. And besides, desperation breeds innovation. If we wait for traditional experts to figure everything out, it'll be too late. We need fresh minds, unconventional thinkers. That's where you come in. Before Jack could respond, Evelyn pressed a button on the table and the holographic display shifted. Now it showed images of alien artifacts, strange orbs, metallic shards, and circuit boards etched with unfamiliar patterns. These are pieces of technology recovered from various encounters, she explained. They're far beyond anything humans have created, but they hold the key to defending ourselves. Your job will be to study them, reverse engineer them, and find ways to integrate their capabilities into our own systems. Jack stared at the holograms, his mind racing. He'd spent his entire life fixing tractors and plows, not deciphering alien tech. Yet there was something thrilling about the challenge. For years he'd felt stuck in a rut, trapped by the monotony of farm life. This was an opportunity to break free, to do something meaningful, something extraordinary. Don't know if I'm cut out for this, he admitted finally, but I'm willing to try. Evelyn's face lit up with satisfaction. That's all I ask. Trust me, Jack, you won't regret it. Over the next few weeks, Jack threw himself into his new role. He was given access to state-of-the-art labs and introduced to teams of brilliant scientists and engineers. At first, he felt completely out of his depth. The terminology they used sounded like gibberish, and the equipment looked impossibly complex. But as days turned into months, Jack began to adapt. He approached each challenge with the same hands-on mentality he'd used on his farm, breaking problems down into smaller, manageable parts. Slowly but surely, he started making progress. 1. Breakthrough came when he managed to stabilize a power core salvaged from an alien ship. The device had been unstable, emitting bursts of energy that threatened to overload the lab. Jack noticed similarities between its internal structure and the combustion engines he was familiar with. By tweaking certain components, he found a way to regulate the flow of energy, effectively taming the volatile artifact. The team was astonished. No one else had been able to solve the issue despite months of effort. Word of Jack's success spread quickly within Novatech. Soon he became a valued member of the project, earning the respect of colleagues who initially doubted him. Evelyn often checked in on his progress, offering guidance and encouragement whenever he hit roadblocks. Under her mentorship, Jack grew, not only as a technician but also as a leader, taking charge of smaller teams tasked with specific aspects of development. As time passed, Jack learned more about the scale of Project Sentinel. Hidden beneath the surface of cities worldwide were vast facilities housing fleets of advanced starships. These vessels weren't just prototypes, they were fully operational war machines designed to rival the most powerful alien armadas. Cloaking technology kept them invisible to the naked eye, ensuring humanity's defenses remained a secret until the moment they were needed. Despite the excitement of his work, Jack couldn't shake the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. Every step forward brought the reality of an impending alien invasion closer. Late at night, Lying awake in his apartment near Novatech headquarters, he wondered if Earth was truly ready for what lay ahead. Could humanity stand against forces that had mastered interstellar travel and wielded unimaginable power? Still, doubt wasn't an option. Jack poured every ounce of energy into his tasks, driven by the knowledge that failure meant doom for billions of people. Along the way, he formed close bonds with his teammates, many of whom shared his determination and sense of purpose. Together, they worked tirelessly, fueled by the belief that they were building a future worth fighting for. Months turned into years, and Project Sentinel reached its peak. Thousands of star destroyers now floated silently in orbit, cloaked and ready to deploy at a moment's notice. Advanced weapon systems, communication arrays, and defensive shields had been installed, thanks in large part to Jack's contributions. Humanity's hidden arsenal represented the culmination of decades of research, sacrifice, and ingenuity. Yet, even as the final preparations were completed, Jack couldn't help but feel uneasy. The aliens he'd heard so much about, the ones whose existence had once seemed like fiction, were real. And they were coming. Little did Jack know the true test of humanity's resolve was closer than anyone anticipated. In the skies above Willow Creek, the stage was set for a confrontation that would change the course of history. All the hard work, all the sleepless nights, all the sacrifices, it was about to pay off. Or so everyone hoped. For now, Jack focused on the present, determined to give humanity the best chance possible. As he walked through the halls of Novatech, surrounded by the hum of activity and the glow of cutting-edge technology, he allowed himself a rare moment of pride. Against all odds, a simple farmer from Willow Creek had become a crucial part of Earth's salvation. Whatever happened next, he knew he had played his part, and that was enough. Years of preparation had led to this moment. Humanity's hidden fleet of star destroyers orbited silently above Earth, cloaked and ready for action. The people below remained blissfully unaware of the danger lurking beyond the stars, or the arsenal their planet now possessed. Jack Harper, once a simple farmer from Willow Creek, stood at the heart of it all. His hands, calloused from years of fixing tractors, had helped craft machines capable of rivaling even the most advanced alien armadas. Yet, as he stared at the monitors in Novatech's command center, his chest tightened with unease. The tension within the facility was palpable. Scientists and engineers moved briskly between stations, their faces etched with worry. On one of the main screens, a live feed showed radar blips moving steadily toward Earth. Dozens of alien ships, each larger than a city, were approaching fast. Their trajectory left no room for doubt. They were here to conquer. Evelyn Carter stood beside Jack, her usual calm demeanor replaced by grim determination. "It's happening," she said softly, almost to herself. "They've made their move." Jack nodded, his throat dry. "Are we ready?" "As ready as we'll ever be," Evelyn replied. "Our ships are armed, cloaked, and waiting for your signal. If everything goes according to plan, we'll have the upper hand. But plans rarely survive first contact with the enemy." The alien fleet arrived under cover of darkness, slipping past Earth's atmosphere like shadows. They spread out over continents, positioning themselves strategically above major cities. From space, they likely appeared invincible, an unstoppable force descending upon a primitive world. What they didn't know was that humanity had been watching them for months, tracking their movements and preparing countermeasures. In the control room, alarms blared as the invaders breached defensive perimeters. Red warning lights flashed across panels, and voices shouted orders over the chaos. Evelyn barked instructions into a headset, coordinating responses from military commanders stationed around the globe. Meanwhile, Jack focused on monitoring the status of Earth's fleet. Every ship, every weapon system depended on the technology he'd helped develop. This was his moment of truth. "They're targeting New York," someone called out. "Energy readings suggest they're charging weapons." Evelyn turned sharply. "Activate Phase 1 immediately. Deploy decoys and disrupt their targeting systems." Seconds later, Thousands of drones erupted from hidden bunkers, swarming the alien ships. Designed to mimic human spacecraft, the drones drew fire, buying precious time for Earth's real fleet to position itself. The aliens hesitated, confused by the sudden appearance of so many targets. But it wouldn't last long. Phase 2 is go, Evelyn announced. Jack, bring our ships online. Jack took a deep breath and pressed a sequence of buttons on his console. Above Earth, the cloaking fields flickered and dissolved, revealing the true might of Project Sentinel. Thousands of star destroyers materialized in the sky, their sleek forms glinting ominously in the moonlight. Weapons charged, shields activated, and engines roared to life. Humanity's secret weapon was no longer a secret. For a brief moment, there was silence, not just in the control room but across the entire planet. People looked up in awe as the massive ships hovered protectively above them. News outlets scrambled to cover the event, broadcasting live footage of the spectacle. Social media exploded with theories, panic, and disbelief. No one knew what was happening, but everyone could see the undeniable power of the fleet now guarding Earth. The aliens reacted with shock and fear. Their commanders, expecting an easy victory against a technologically inferior species, froze. Communications crackled with frantic messages as they tried to make sense of the situation. Then, without warning, their lead vessel fired, a massive beam of energy aimed directly at one of Earth's star destroyers. The shot never hit its mark. A shimmering shield deflected the blast harmlessly into space, leaving the human ship unscathed. Cheers erupted in the control room as confirmation came through. The shielding system worked perfectly. Jack allowed himself a small smile, though his focus remained sharp. There was still much to do. Target their flagship, Evelyn ordered. Disable their command structure. Jack relayed the command, and several star destroyers locked onto the alien mothership. With precision honed by countless simulations, they unleashed a barrage of plasma torpedoes. The explosions lit up the night sky, sending shockwaves rippling through the atmosphere. The mothership staggered under the assault, its hull ruptured and smoking. Panic spread among the alien fleet. Ships began retreating, breaking formation as they scrambled to escape. But humanity wasn't done yet. Using data gathered during the battle, Jack identified vulnerabilities in the enemy's defenses. He instructed the fleet to exploit these weaknesses, targeting propulsion systems and communication arrays. One by one, the alien vessels fell silent, their crews either surrendering or abandoning ship. As dawn broke over the horizon, the skies cleared. The invaders had been routed, their forces decimated. Not a single human life had been lost in the Akur conflict, a testament to the ingenuity and teamwork that had brought Project Sentinel to fruition. When the dust settled, Jack stepped outside Novatech headquarters, breathing in the crisp morning air. Chicago buzzed with activity as news of the victory spread. Crowds gathered in the streets cheering and waving flags. For the first time in history, humanity had faced an extraterrestrial threat head-on and emerged victorious. Evelyn joined him moments later, her expression weary but triumphant. "We did it," she said simply. "Against all odds, we protected Earth." Jack nodded, though his thoughts were elsewhere. "Do you think this is the end? Or will they come back?" "It's hard to say," Evelyn admitted. "But if they do, we'll be ready. Thanks to you, Jack, we've proven that humanity isn't helpless anymore." Her words carried weight, but Jack couldn't shake the feeling that their fight was far from over. Somewhere out there, among the countless stars, other civilizations watched and waited. The galaxy was vast, and Earth's newfound strength would undoubtedly attract attention, both friendly and hostile. Still, for now, there was reason to celebrate. Jack gazed up at the sky, marveling at how far he'd come since that fateful day at Silver Lake. A broken tractor had led him to this moment, to a role he never imagined playing. And while the road ahead promised challenges, he felt a quiet pride knowing he'd help safeguard the future of his species. Later that evening, as fireworks lit up the night sky in celebration, Jack returned to his apartment. He poured himself a cup of coffee and sat by the window staring at the stars. Somewhere beyond those twinkling lights lay answers to questions humanity had only begun to ask. Who were these aliens? Why had they attacked? And what else lurked in the depths of space? For the first time in years, Jack allowed himself to dream. Not of tractors or farms, but of adventures among the stars. Perhaps someday, when the time was right, he'd venture beyond Earth's borders, seeking knowledge and understanding. Until then, he would remain grounded, content in the knowledge that he had played his part. And somewhere out there, among the endless expanse of the cosmos, Earth's enemies whispered tales of a blue planet that dared to fight back, a planet that refused to bow to the darkness. The aftermath of the battle left Earth in a state of cautious celebration. The skies, once filled with fear and uncertainty, now shimmered with hope. Humanity had stared into the abyss and emerged victorious, a feat that seemed impossible just days earlier. For Jack Harper, however, the victory felt bittersweet. He had played a pivotal role in saving his planet, but the weight of what he had witnessed lingered heavily on his shoulders. The aliens' invasion was thwarted, but it wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. In the weeks following the confrontation, life slowly returned to normal for most people. News outlets hailed the event as Earth's greatest triumph, praising the mysterious fleet that had appeared out of nowhere to defend humanity. Governments released carefully crafted statements explaining the existence of Project Sentinel, framing it as a decades-long effort to protect the planet from extraterrestrial threats. While some citizens embraced the revelation with pride, others were skeptical, questioning why they had been kept in the dark for so long. Conspiracy theories flourished online, but for the majority, gratitude outweighed suspicion. Humanity had survived its first major interstellar conflict, and that was enough. Jack, meanwhile, found himself caught between two worlds. On one hand, he was celebrated as a hero within Novatech, and among those who knew the truth about his contributions. Scientists and engineers treated him with newfound respect, acknowledging that his ingenuity had tipped the scales in humanity's favor. On the other hand, he struggled to reconcile his quiet, humble roots with the extraordinary events he had helped shape. Back in Willow Creek, neighbors greeted him warmly, unaware of the full extent of his involvement in Earth's salvation. To them, he was still just Jack, the farmer who fixed broken tractors and tended to his fields. Evelyn Carter remained a constant presence in his life, offering guidance and support as he navigated this strange new reality. She had risen to prominence as the face of Project Sentinel, leading press conferences and spearheading diplomatic efforts to establish Earth's position among the stars. Despite her growing responsibilities, she made time to check in on Jack, sensing that he needed grounding amidst the whirlwind of change. "You've earned this moment, Jack," she told him during one of their conversations. "Don't let it slip away." "I don't know if I belong here," Jack admitted, gesturing at the bustling corridors of Novatech headquarters. "This isn't me. I'm just a guy who knows how to fix things." "And that's exactly why you're invaluable," Evelyn countered. "You didn't come here because you were looking for glory or recognition. You came because you wanted to help. And look what you've achieved. You've given humanity a fighting chance." Her words resonated with Jack, though doubt still lingered. Deep down, he wondered whether staying at Novatech was truly where he belonged. Part of him yearned to return to Willow Creek, to the simplicity of farm life and the comforting rhythm of nature, but another part of him couldn't ignore the pull of the stars, the curiosity ignited by his work on alien technology, and the realization that there was so much more to explore beyond Earth's borders. As the global spotlight shifted away, from Novatech, the organization focused on the next phase of its mission, preparing for future encounters with alien civilizations. Intelligence gathered during the battle revealed that the invaders were part of a larger coalition, a loose alliance, of species united by a shared desire to dominate weaker planets. Though the immediate threat had been neutralized, the possibility of retaliation loomed large. Earth's leaders understood that complacency would be fatal. Humanity needed to continue advancing its technology, strengthening its defenses, and forging alliances with friendlier extraterrestrial factions. Jack threw himself back into his work, determined to leave no stone unturned. He collaborated with teams of scientists to analyze data recovered from the defeated alien fleet, uncovering secrets about their propulsion systems, energy sources, and communication methods. Each discovery brought humanity closer to understanding its place in the universe and to ensuring it wouldn't fall victim to another attack. One breakthrough stood out above the rest. Buried deep within the wreckage of an alien cruiser, Jack discovered a device unlike anything he'd encountered before. It resembled a crystalline sphere, pulsating with soft, rhythmic light. Initial scans suggested it was some kind of navigation tool, capable of mapping vast distances across space. But as Jack examined it more closely, he realized it might serve an even greater purpose, opening portals to distant regions of the galaxy. Excited by the implications, Jack presented his findings to Evelyn. "If we can figure out how this works, we could use it to travel anywhere in the universe," he explained. "Imagine being able to meet other civilizations, not as enemies, but as equals." Evelyn's eyes sparkled with intrigue. "That's a bold idea, Jack, but it's also risky. We barely survived our last encounter with aliens. What makes you think we're ready to step onto their turf?" "Because hiding won't keep us safe forever," Jack replied firmly. "Sooner or later we'll have to take the fight to them, or at least show them we're not afraid. This could be our ticket." Though hesitant, Evelyn agreed to fund further research into the device. Over the following months, Jack led a team dedicated to unlocking its mysteries. Progress was slow and fraught with challenges, but every small success fueled their determination. For the first time since joining Novatech, Jack felt a renewed sense of purpose. He wasn't just defending Earth anymore. He was paving the way for humanity to become an interstellar power. Meanwhile, Earth itself underwent profound changes. The revelation of alien life forced humanity to confront questions it had long avoided. What did it mean to be human? How should Earth interact with other intelligent species? And what responsibilities came with wielding such immense technological power? Governments around the world began working together in unprecedented ways, setting aside old rivalries to focus on a common goal, protecting the planet while exploring its potential role in the cosmos. Educational programs expanded to include subjects like astrophysics, xenobiology, and interstellar diplomacy. Young minds were inspired to dream big, imagining futures where humans walked among the stars alongside beings from other worlds. Willow Creek, Jack's story became legend. When he visited home, locals listened eagerly as he recounted tales of his adventures, though he always downplayed his own contributions, crediting teamwork and perseverance instead. Children looked up to him as a hero, planting seeds of ambition in their hearts. Perhaps one day they too would venture beyond Earth's atmosphere, carrying the torch lit by pioneers like Jack. Eventually, the day came when the crystalline sphere was ready for testing. A specially designed spacecraft equipped with the device prepared to embark on humanity's first interstellar journey. Its destination: a nearby star system identified through intercepted alien transmissions as a hub of peaceful activity. The mission aimed not only to gather intelligence but also to extend an olive branch, to demonstrate that Earth sought cooperation, not conquest. Jack volunteered to join the crew, surprising even himself with the decision. Evelyn tried to dissuade him, arguing that his expertise was too valuable to risk, but Jack insisted. "I started this journey fixing a broken tractor," he said with a grin. "Might as well see where the road leads." As the ship launched into orbit, Jack gazed out the viewport at the receding blue orb below. Tears welled in his eyes as he reflected on how far he'd come, from a struggling farmer to a key figure in humanity's rise to the stars. Whatever lay ahead, he knew he was ready to face it. When the crystalline sphere activated, opening a shimmering portal in the void of space, Jack felt a thrill unlike any he'd experienced before. As the ship passed through, leaving Earth behind, he whispered a single word: "Forward." And so, humanity took its first steps into the great unknown, guided by courage, curiosity, and the indomitable spirit of individuals like Jack Harper. Among the stars, Earth's name would echo, not as a planet to be feared, but as one to be respected. Somewhere beyond the horizon, new adventures awaited, promising untold wonders and challenges alike. For Jack, the journey was just beginning.